Good morning, all you ball watchers out there, and all you survivors of what happened last night in the City versus DC United match. It was UGLY. God, man, the fact that we paid money to witness that match. We'll get into all the frustrations, Justin, but I don't know how to describe how I felt walking out of that match. I'm not sure what I watched was a soccer match. It felt more like I was in the theater, and there was a lot of performances, being done on the field. It was brutal. It was an awful night to be a soccer fan because you talk about, your product making people want to watch as an advertisement. This was a reason that soccer does not become a big thing in this country by people watching this game and getting that impression. That's what the game is like.
I mean, I understand. Definitely a ton of frustrations. I can't believe it only ended 2-2. That first half was insane with the amount of chances going back and forth both ways. The exact same way that we described it on the preview, Jake, of that there was no midfield play. Everybody around us, or season ticket holders, were like, when did we stop trying to pass the ball completely? And do they not do that either? It was just a bunch of long balls back and forth, completely taking the midfield out of play completely. But I mean, honestly, it was pretty exciting. I mean, all around with everything, you take the refs and the fouls and everything away, just the amount of goals and chances that we had, it was an exciting match.
Yeah, I thought the first half was more exciting. The second half just kind of felt super drab as it wore on because DC, I'm pretty sure, was playing with like a back six as we got deeper into the game. But for us, this is actually, it was a record. I saw a great comment in here already from a couple of folks. JT, only 5 unbeaten teams left. Yep, we're one of them. Jonathan, if we draw every game left, we could be the first undefeated team to not make the playoffs. I remind you all, God, you guys are on fire this morning already. I love it. I remind you all that last season we had 5 draws out of 34 matches
34
in the
games.
MLS, and we have 4 already this season. So we are well on our way to doing just that.
Get used to it. Unfortunately, that's the biggest argument that some of my friends that are not into soccer is like, can you imagine watching a full game and then letting it end in a tie? And unfortunately, we've had that, but we've not had any of the 0-0 ties. Like, these have all been exciting matches. You talk about 3-3 LA and 2-2 versus Austin. Like, all these games are like us coming back from being down. It's been exciting at least, but yeah, it just every time you leave that, you're like, we should have had 3 points. We could easily be top of the table right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, enough of those initial kind of raw reactions. I do want to say a quick shout out, Justin, to Brian, to Zach, and to Austin, who we ran into yesterday, fellow listeners of the show, like you all hearing us right now. But you guys stopped and said hi at the pitch and at City Park, respectively. So great seeing you all. Thank you for listening to the show, and shout out to you three. For anyone, when you guys see us out, we are not cooler than that. If you want to say hi and just chat about the game, what you think is going to happen, let us know your hot takes. Definitely pull us aside and say hi. Do not think that you can't do that. We love running into you all. So shout out to you three. Justin, the last thing I want to say is we did set a record last night, and I don't think it's a little bit tongue in cheek, I feel like, at this point, but we did start last season unbeaten in our first 5 games. And technically this season, we are also unbeaten in our first 5 MLS matches. So that is the first time ever that an expansion team has done that in their first 2 seasons. And it's the 5th time ever any team has done that in back-to-back seasons. So hard to beat, but also not finding wins easy to come by either.
I mean, it's definitely tongue in cheek because it doesn't feel like we're unbeaten, to be honest, Jake. I feel like but give credit to the guys. We made a lot of comebacks here in these as well. And so I'm seeing all of these different comments. Also, Jake, what section number are we? 203. Come up to 203. We get halftime beers all the time. And I'm serious. I could not agree more with Jake in the fact that, like, the guys that we talked to was literally just like grabbing beers at the pitch or in line getting food. Like, just shout us out. Just be, hey, what's up? Like, talk about predictions. Talk about anything else you guys want to talk about. We love seeing everybody out there. We are not cool. We just like to hang. Wow. We just like to hang out and talk with you guys.
Indeed, Justin. Let's talk about starting 11 here. It was dropped as we were at the pitch, getting our pregame festivities on for what was to be an exciting match. And I thought the 11 matched my excitement level. We were pretty close on the prediction for what we thought was going to happen with the starting 11. We saw a backline featuring Dewyer as the big guy coming in to replace Marcanic. Only got 60 minutes. I think they were just managing him last night. We're going to throw him in for a full 90. But Yaro obviously had to still step in ahead of Tim Parker. By the way, anyone ask about Tim Parker? We have no clue zero clue what's going on with him. I know it's a back-centered issue, but in terms of details they let slip, it's been very tight. I have not heard anything. I literally think the verbatim that Carnell said in the press conference pregame was they're managing his back. So I don't know if he's in training. Obviously, we're not there, but it doesn't. I feel like the more mysterious it is, the sketchier and potentially worse it is, in my experience. I don't know.
I would agree. I think that, I mean, they're probably just trying to keep it close to the chest. It's early in the season.
Yeah.
You don't want teams knowing kind of what we're dealing with in that sense, but it's definitely not good. A back issue is not one where it's like, oh, he'll come back in a couple of weeks with a quad or something, or a hamstring or anything like that with Lubin, Blum, all these guys that we've seen like injuries throughout the past couple of years, or Klaus. But a back one is, I don't even know how you deal with that. So I wish the best to Tim Parker. Had a couple Parker Pilsners last night. If you haven't tried that, go to Four Hands, get Parker Pilsners. He's came out with a shirt for it as well. I think it's blood, sweat, and beers with him drinking his own beer. Pretty cool. So I love to see the guy kind of taking in the St. Louis influence, but wish him all the best in the speedy recovery.
And actually, before we move off of Parker, Justin, do we know the time today? Yeah, the pitch.
Yeah.
Tim Parker and Jake Nerwinski are guest bartending at the pitch today. So if you all haven't been there yet, or even if you have, definitely check it out today. They are literally whipping up your drinks, your shots, anything that you want to, put down the hatch on this Sunday, beautiful Sunday in St. Louis. They'll be whipping it up for you live on Market Street at the pitch.
3 p.m. to 4:30 today. You have Jake Nerwinski and Tim Parker. I'm going to be there, Jake. I might just give him a, hey, how you doing, Tim, and see what we can get.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, a little inside reporting. That would
There's
be.
no chance I'm getting anything out of that guy. He's
no,
but
no.
The only thing out anyways.
The only thing you're getting from Tim Parker is a Jack and Coke.
If I can get a Parker Pilsner from Tim Parker, I'm not letting any of these guys make me a drink. It's going to be disgusting. No offense. These guys are incredible. They're the nicest guys ever, but none of them can make good drinks unless they're just pouring shots into a glass. So yeah. I'm just sticking with the beers. I'll let them crack one open for me.
But tell me, miss him, man. I really think we are missing Tim on the back line for a lot of different reasons. But so we also lined up with Indy, Durkin, Ostrak, and AZ. This is all we have, right? I mean, someone might make a case, Blum, but he's just not ready yet for the full 90 minutes. But I thought he was fine last night when he came on. And we're missing Leuven still, which I think is a huge miss in a game like this. And, people might say, oh, you could bring Watson. I'm still not a believer in that experiment. So I think we may do. It was not a midfield game. I think you predicted it, Justin. Midfield for both teams was virtually non-existent. When you look at the pass network, it just didn't. It's almost like it wasn't there. But I do think I heard Carnell mention this in the post game too. A guy like Tomas Ostrak came in as a 10 to the team, or maybe even a winger, kind of that wants to come in, and he's playing as a 6 right now for this team. I think they're working on kind of flexing him in the central midfield space. And to be honest, it's not his best position, but I saw some moments last night where I'm like, I appreciate, this guy's playing way out of his league in terms of what he's used to. And I actually saw some impact last night from him on defense. So I thought the midfield is what it could be. I do think we totally bit the bullet on any width play. We talked about that. We play in AZ and Indy. You're not going to get guys with chalk in their boots, which could have been nice to have last night.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that we'll get into the player ratings and all of it with AZ. But I mean, in a very positive sense, I think Ostrak's been stepping up quietly this season in a way that we haven't been able to talk about stats wise. This man's just being plugged in different positions where we need to fill a hole, and he's doing it. So I want to give him a big shout out. I feel like he's been that utility guy. You think about I'm going to flip this around and go baseball real quick. Tommy Edman, David Eckstein, throwing out some old names for baseball, just where you need a hole to be filled, and Ostrak's just coming in and playing it. You play him wide, you play him in the middle, you play him defensively, you play him in the attacking side of things. And I think that he's been that guy for us, and that's just priceless. Honestly, it's tough to find someone that can just do that, and I thought he's done a good job so far.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the game. Obviously, Klaus and Duran started up top. We predicted that. Don't think it was great last night, but I think it was better than what it's been before. So that at least some progress.
One thing I'm going to say real quick too, Jake, we have a ton of comments, people talking about this with the ref. We're going to cover that all at the end. I think we'll talk about highlights and lowlights, and then we'll talk about the refereeing. And then Jake's already reached out to Mr. George Gasner. We're going to try to get a sin bin going this week and just let him just fire off on these guys, because that man is extremely heated watching this at home.
Oh my God. Yeah. And follow him on Twitter if you haven't. He was going in last night on some of the refereeing decisions. It wasn't just our game, by the way. So the George signal is out. I need to make a graphic of the bat signal, but George
Put it up in the sky. That man's coming running.
He would. So you'll all definitely hear from him this week. That's our goal, to get in front of him. But first half, let's get into it last night. Obviously, the first part of the first half was really fun. And we got this sense that this game was going to be back and forth, tons of action, tons of opportunities. We had a flurry of them early on in the first, I'd say, probably 15 minutes. We had Sam get a huge opportunity after Bartlett misplayed it on an Indy deflected through ball. He couldn't get his right foot to steer it on goal. Unfortunately, he's more calm that left foot, I would say. We had Sam pressure their goalkeeper into a misplay on the ball. Klaus jumped on it, couldn't get it high enough over Bono for the shot on goal in what was basically an empty net. But our goal came off a set piece, and it through a corner from Indy Vasilev on a great delivery. Josh Yarrow, Justin, first goal in the MLS for him. Kudos to Josh.
Dude, look with a clean cut as well. When you're talking about that, you're like, is that Josh Yarrow? Like, slimmed down sides, a little bit of a flat top almost. I would say awesome goal by Josh. Unfortunately, I was grabbing a sandwich. Why do we not have enough TVs out there? Like, I heard them cheer, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like trying to run back, and I literally see DC score a minute later as I'm coming back to the middle of our entrance for a session.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure on your arrival back to the seats is when we were conceding, and the announcer is still saying the goal scored by Josh, and they're scoring in the back of our net.
And they're just putting it away like a wide open empty netter by the time that he taps it in. I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. I'm like looking around, holding my chicken sandwich. Like, I just felt so dumb. I've never missed so much action in a minute and a half.
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, you couldn't even, I barely had just sat down until the ball was back in our net for DC's goal, which came a minute after our goal, in a pretty whirlwind 2 minutes, I'd say, for Josh Yarrow, because this one, it's off the restart. We don't fly after DC like I feel like we normally do on restarts, and they don't go with that lumping long ball or like high long ball. They actually just ping it into, I believe it was Stroud, who was making a good run on the right wing. He kind of played like a right winger position last night, but also had defensive duties, kind of like a right wing back. And he hit across for days onto the back post for Benteke. Josh Yarrow, I think, caught a little bit ball watching there. He was watching the cross as it floated over his head, as Benteke had kind of crept away from him, got a couple feet of space behind him. Benteke hits this header full power. Berkey makes a goalkeeper of the year type save. Had this ball gone off the crossbar and over and out for a corner, had we cleared it, this is the save of the week, 110%. But he saves it, hits off the crossbar, and it's there for, I forget this guy's name. Who scored that goal? It was like Pietro. Yeah, Di Pietro.
Theodore Pietro
has the tap in, and it's literally, Justin, you want to talk about XG? That opportunity for him was 0.93. Literally sitting.
I hope so. I'm literally watching it again right now. Literally, the ball is just falling. He put his foot on it. He could have just kept running straight, and he would have ran it right into the back of the net.
So we're gonna try something here, Justin. I obviously we love to try new things on the pod here. So I actually went and just clipped that goal, and I'm gonna try to see if we can show it here and kind of just let you all know how we kind of thought about it. Again,
while Jake's doing that, I'm gonna make a quick plug again as Jake's getting this set up for us. Get to the pitch today. Why would you not want to? And I would say we already talked to Jenny and them. Yes, we're having Parker and Nowinski be the bartenders. The majority of the team will be at the pitch today, especially with a draw last night. If you take an L, it's like, maybe we don't want to go celebrate. These guys will be there. I saw the city ref say that like Celio took like 12 shots last time he was there. Get to the pitch and celebrate with these guys. Go meet them. They're all extremely nice. Get to the pitch today, 3 p.m. to 4:30. Tim Parker and Nowinski are bartending.
They are indeed. Good shout out, Justin. And I know this, by the way, this is definitely going to be a video. Got to watch it on YouTube. You got to watch our show on the YouTube segment so for those of you in the podcast, I'm just going to say what happened. The center back, I'm highlighting with my cursor right now, basically at the half field line right now, just pings a probably 5, 6, 7 foot ball on a rope, probably 30, 40 yards to Stroud, who catches this ball in stride. Great first touch. And you can see now we are caught off guard. Everyone's running with their backs to the other opposition half, which you don't want to be caught doing. And Stroud, like I said, takes a great first touch. You can see Josh Yarrow starting to get back. Deer's out of position, not tight enough with Stroud. And Stroud hits a peach of a cross. And all you see is Josh Yaro watching that cross float in from Stroud, not keeping an eye over his shoulder onto Benteke, who's crashing that far post. And what do you know? He creeps in, hits a bullet of a header. Berkey's got a millisecond to react to this one, gets a fingertip to it off the crossbar, and you have the easiest goal that this man, DiPietro, will ever score in his life, as he is just hitting it into the empty net, literally a foot off the line. So that's the first goal. Justin, hot takes. What do you think about that?
Hot takes. Unfortunately, Mr. Josh Yaro, I don't know how you lose Christian Benteke. It's impossible not to see this man. We were talking about it. What, he's 6'3", like 200 pounds, and he puts his full body through that header. And it was an incredible save, like you said, by Mr. Rowan Berkey. He tips it off the crossbar. Unfortunately, he doesn't go over. It literally just goes up in the air and is coming down probably a foot from the line. And this Theodore guy just be able to just walk right in with it. So, in my opinion, it was a great cross by Stroud. Great ball into him anyways, but that's just one that you got to track Benteke. And if you're not going to win the header, at least get a body on him so you can't give such a powerful header on Berkey.
Yeah, Berkey mentioned this in the press conference too, is how are people just not constantly looking for where Benteke is on the field? He is their most dangerous player. Everything flowed through him last night. He played well for the most part, I would say, but we've just those really, really, high caliber star players, you cannot lose sight of, especially when they're strikers. So that was unfortunate to see happen. And I'm not kidding you. I know this wasn't off a restart, but that second goal, which I will also pull up right now, happens in an eerily similar fashion. And it just makes me uncomfortable at our defending, because it just looked too easy last night. If you're asking me about how we conceded, both these goals look almost identical. So I'm pulling up the second goal for anyone listening on just audio right now. And you can see the ball starts again way on their own third, in their own defensive third, kind of getting into the middle third of the field. And you can see Stroud kind of peeling off of Dewyer for a good kind of banana-shaped run in behind. And you can see Cleach, their central midfielder, kind of stepping up to the ball to receive it. I know I have the audio on here. To receive it. Now, Dewyer and Nilsson have both committed to guarding Cleach. Both of them have let Stroud go, which is going to prove to be a fatal mistake here, as he has a wonderful flick in behind into Stroud, who's now got acres of space to run into. He carries the ball a couple of touches, almost loses it underneath him, squares the ball up to Benteke. My problem here, Justin, while I pause, is so Stroud and Benteke are the final two in our box right now. Only person basically in the situation for us defensively besides Berkey is Yaro. In my opinion, and I think Berkey said as much during the press conference, I want Yaro in this case to kind of balance, but I want him to be closer to Benteke. I want him to rule out that cutback, that easy tap in finish at the back post, and I want Stroud to have to beat Roman Berkey. That's my opinion.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, Jake, I'm gonna reverse it back even a little further. This is on your boy Dewyer. If you watch him in that clip, he needs to stay with Stroud. He should not be going inside. That's Nilsson's guy. Watch Dewey's hips right here as you have it lined up already. His hips are facing out. When the ball gets played in, his hips turn inward, and he just turns in a circle in a little 5-yard area, and then he completely loses all momentum. He can't catch up with Stroud at that point, even right then. And then he clips Nilsson's heels right there. They run into each other essentially. And then, yes, let's move on to the Yaro piece of this. This is extremely hard, I would say, for a center back not to stay with your runner, but you got to leave Stroud by himself there. Take away the easy finish in the pass for Benteke. Let Stroud beat Mr. Rowan Berkey in your post, which, in my opinion, Jake, just will never happen. Berkey will take this. If you look at where Stroud's at best case, he gets a shot off from 5 yards from the extended corner of the 6. He's not beating Roman Berkey there. The only way we're getting beat here is a slotted pass across to an wide open goal for Mr. Christian Benteke, because Berkey has to cover that near post. And I think we've seen this a couple times, some of our center backs, or we saw it with Blom earlier in the season as well. You're getting caught in between the outside guy. Take away the easy goal. Make Rome deal with these guys one-on-one. If they score from there, tough luck for us. But I think as far as an XG piece goes for this, any shot that those guys are taking from wide, it's going to be less than a 0.1 XG, especially on Roman Berkey. But if you let them slot it open into a wide open Belgian international that has played multiple games and hundreds of games in the EPL, he's slotting that home 100 times out of 100.
Absolutely. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. That's, again, definitely better video content. So I encourage you, if you felt lost during that, we literally were playing the clips there and you can follow along. So go to YouTube, check it out.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Jake. He's a dad, but he is still using technology very well, just on the fly. Look at you, man. Happy Sunday, Jake. I'm proud of you.
I'm going to pull out the X's and O's here. So we're going to be drawing lines live on this virtually, which would be cool. It'd be fun.
Let's not revert backwards. Yeah. Let's not
So
X's and O's.
Closing out the first half, I think great to see Yarrow get his first goal in the MLS in first goal for us, obviously. Set pieces, I think we carried danger throughout the first half. I think game momentum outside of the goals we conceded, we looked the better team. Yes, they led the XG battle in the first half. That's because they had two, basically 1-pointers on the XG scale. So that was a tough look, but I think we still looked really dangerous through the first half and knew we were going to come back. Justin and I made money, which Justin and I owe you on the double chance. We live bet that. So that was fun to actually cash that. The bad, Justin, you called this out. Space between the middle and the back line was very gaping at times. It just, you leave your defense so exposed when you lose the ball. There was so many moments last night where my heart just sank into my stomach as they had a huge counter or they had numbers going forward, and you've got Nilsson, Yarrow and whatever fullback wasn't involved in the attack, just sprinting on their horse to get back. It's just a scary way to play. And I think Benteke, you've just got to keep a better eye on him. He's the most dangerous player on the field at all times. Someone's got to keep an eye on him at all times. And I think Berkey said this too in the press conference. Sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate things defensively. I think sometimes you just got to keep it simple and play to the situation. So in Yarrow's case there on the defending piece with who to pick the guy that scores 20 billion goals in a season. Let Stroud beat you. And I'm not going to, by the way, Stroud is a great shot. We know that, but let him try to beat Berkey, and you play the guy that is virtually invincible out there. He won like 25 duels last night. He was a beast. Benteke was. So just play it a little bit simpler sometimes, in my opinion. I just feel like we overcomplicate.
I will say just one quick thing as well. You mentioned Stroud a couple times. Honestly, Jake, I would almost give him the man of the match. I mean, Benteke had an incredible game. It's hard to not, but he'd be 1B behind Benteke. He only was given one assist, but that cross that he had that allowed for the second goal for that Benteke header was incredible. Unfortunately, I would just remove him completely from man of the match conversations with how much he just rolled around on the ground. People were eating up my story of him just like cramping up and stretching the entirety of it. We've talked about it, Jake, so many times. Last year, I said it every time. Stroud is a guy that you hate to play against, but would love to have on your team. And it does not ring more true now that we see it, that we had him. It's like he is so chippy. He gets on the heels of people and he wastes time. God, it really stings to see him do it at City Park for an opposing team.
Stings is perfect because I was seething last night because we're looking over him in our section. He, I think, took the lead last night in MLS in cramps per 90. He was absolutely crushing it. This dude's hamstrings were on a thread, according to how much he was stretching himself. And God, I wanted to see him off the field so bad.
Jake, do you want to hear something nuts? How many fouls do you think he was the receiver that he took on himself in that game?
You'd think it maybe like 6?
2. He only had 2 fouls, but he was able to waste that much time in the game. That's what, like 2 fouls against as a guy that is running up and down the sidelines is minimal. But somehow that man alone wasted probably 12 minutes of the game and was able, I would say he contributed 9 out of the 10 minutes that was added to the second half.
So second half opens up. It's a very different half. I think for us, we basically played what I would call most of a low block for the rest of the game. DC was very comfortable with the lead. They'd gotten what they'd come to do. I think looking broadly really quick here, Justin, my synopsis in this game is DC came for a point. We came to play soccer. And that's what they did. Everything they did was to come away with something tangible in this game, and they got what they wanted. But it was very ugly at times. I think the only things I'll say quick before we get to our equalizing goal is there was a moment with Nilsson where the ball was over the top of Benteke. He tried to bike this out. Nilsson, again, simple. I know you had the acrobatic. You had the goal of the week last week, and it was on a bike. But maybe you don't do that when you have a 6'5" imposing center forward running down your throat. And let's just keep it simpler. Yara was there to bail him out. Thank God. Celio comes on, Justin. Where was he in the starting 11? Could have made a big difference to me if we gave him a longer time to be on the pitch.
Yeah, unfortunately, Celio came in the 57th minute. On FUTMob, we have him as a 7.4, which is literally our second highest rated player behind Claps. So I would say like man of the match. I mean, we'll get to all of that and who's going to be our heart and soul juice of the morning in the game. But Yeah, Celio, and again, another great shining spot for him. I think this guy is literally only working his way in to be a consistent starting 11 guy. But I agree. Unfortunately, I think AZ is working his way out. But I wish we had Celio in there longer because he is just once he gets the ball, I literally am. It's that meme of where you're sitting like this to when you lean forward and you're watching the game even more intently because once it gets on his foot, it's just exciting every time, regardless of what he does. It brings me back to whenever the guys are like, who would you not trust fireworks with? The entire team said Celio because that guy is just a mastermind. And just thinking about him with some fireworks, that's what he does every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, and he's the one that directly contributed to our goal last night, our equalizer, with the 66th minute. Him and Ostrak combined beautifully for a little 1-2. Ostrak flicked it into him at the corner of the 18. He took a huge hack from the defender for DC at the corner, right inside the box, got up, kept running with the ball, let a shot loose. Wasn't a great shot. And VAR, I guess, because there was nothing going on in the stadium, because we don't have these new rules yet, because the MLS refuses to pay the referees, even though referees are freaking atrocious at this point, league wide. Wasn't just our game last night, but we get this overturned, and VAR, not overturned, right? It's not overturned. It's that they actually go back and review this one. Celio says he was obviously had contact, and they rule this one a PK. And I loved giving that to Klaus. I'm not sure if he was the actual guy to come up that's supposed to come up and take that, because usually it's Leuven, but we have no Leuven. So is Klaus number 2 in that pecking order. It was good. I think just good for the confidence. He did it so composed too. He was able to kind of stutter his way up there, and Bono was like 6 feet off his line by the time he even took that ball. So he just coolly slotted it. Bono had already committed to the wrong side, and he went opposite. So it's great to get Klaus off the mark. What that does for him, I just hope it translates into one game and the next game and the next game.
That's what I was saying. I think it's one of those things where you just need a shot, go to the back of the net. I literally mentioned it after that hit. We had this with Nico last year. Do you remember when Nico stepped up and was like, hey,
Yep.
Leuven, I need this PK? He went on a streak of the next 5 games, scoring 3 goals. And I think it's just one of those things, just literally seeing it go in the back of the net. It's going to be huge for Klaus. I cannot wait for that. I will say that PK, I'm watching it again right now. That stutter step, Bono was stuttering like he was having a seizure to get off the line, trying to make sure he didn't know when Klaus was going to kick this ball. Slots it into the bottom right. I tried to do a little piece of technology last night and go live on Instagram for that. You could see it on our reel. We're getting some good traction. I definitely could have cut it a little bit. I had it out there. You were guessing that it was going bottom left. So was Kev, but it was incredible PK. And the last thing I'm going to say on this for Celio as well, just rewatched it. Not only did he get the foul, but Jared Stroud would have been rolling around for an hour and a half. Celio gets back up and lets the ball, and he's like, I'm going to go get this goal regardless of the foul. And thank God that they used VAR and called it back, which I mentioned to you before we got on the stream. I didn't really realize that you could play the advantage and then go back and call the PK. We could have easily scored after Celio got up and ran with that. So I'd like to talk to George a little bit more about that. But Great job by Celio and a great finish by Klaus. I think it's going to be big for us going forward.
Yeah, and thanks for Stroud for just being on the ground and making sure that they had the time to go back and review this one, because DC, knowing how this game was so poorly officiated, they could have just let a restart happen, and that this would have been non-reviewable at that point. So he gave us that reprieve.
We've talked about that so many times. That is the one thing to remember with VAR is once the game is restarted again, you cannot go back. So thank God that the ball went out of play and it did not get restarted quickly, because then VAR is not reviewable. We cannot go and get that PK.
Heart and soul of the team, Stroud? No, definitely not. But going into just kind of final thoughts on this, we had some decent chances at the end. I think Thorson had a great shot on goal. Probably should have done more with that, in my opinion. Got to put that one in for him. That'd have been great to see his confidence get up as well. So I think we had some flurry of chances. They definitely did not. The second half, they were non-existent, DC, in terms of their opportunities on net. But for us, good to see Carnell own up to this as well in the press conference when he says, basically he apologized straight up to the fans for coming here and witnessing what we had to witness. We deserve more. I love hearing that from the gaffer. So great for Carnell to own up on that. Good to see Klaus on the board. Celio is just continuing his great form, I think, into this season. The bad, I would love to see the stat on the time the ball was actually in play yesterday in the full, 112, 113 minutes they played last night of match time. How much time was the ball actually in play? It was awful. The gamesmanship from DC, I get it. Every team does a certain level of it. We do as well. I'm not saying that we don't do anything, but the level to which they took it last night to me is disgusting. Literally disgusting. I hated it. Every minute of it last night was brutal.
Completely fine with me, Jake. I think if only because I'm saying that this team, if that's what they're doing this early in the season and trying to take points away on an away game, they're not going to make it anywhere in this
That's
league.
true.
So take it. I mean, if that's the only way that teams are going to try to come in and play against us, it shows us how much of a fortress that City Park is. So if they're literally coming out of halftime like, all right, let's hunker down. That's what we literally have from Tyler here. He goes, the halftime speech was hunker down, boys. We leave with 3 points or 1. And that's completely true. These guys were literally just trying to get out of here with a point. And if that's what teams are trying to do to come in with us, fine with me. We're going to win more of those games than we are not. You can't play an entire 45 minutes where you're just trying to not concede a goal because we have too much of an offensive firepower to not shove another one down your throat.
Really quick, let me catch up on some comments here just on Instagram for those tuning in here. Referees are making poor calls this year. That's from Wyatt. Totally agree. MP2 I go. Jared Stroud deserved to lose that game. Yes, I definitely think he personally deserved to lose that game. I hope every single faker on the DCU stubs their toe on the way into the shower this morning. Oh my God, the comments are on fire. I love this stuff. All right, we'll definitely catch up on those before we get to the end here. So this will be a little bit longer of an episode for you all, but I think there's just so much to talk about, so it's kind of worth it. But stats wise, Justin, how did we line up last night? I saw, obviously we took possession in this game. I think DC definitely let us have more of the ball. We didn't do as much with it still, but XG was about even for both teams at 1.82 and 1.97. But I'd say, I think if I look back to DC's 2 goals that they scored, one, like I said, was 0.93 and one was 0.53. So there's, all but 0.4 of their XG was on 2 chances. So again, you can't think back and be like, Berkey literally had 1 save last night, and it was on the goal that he conceded after the rebound off the crossbar. So it's not like they were making him work at all. I think otherwise, we pretty much nullified most of their second half threat. We were the better team in most every category, outside of the goals. The only unfortunate thing was, they were a little more aggressive than us. I think they had more of a press than we did last night. But again, they're taking what we do, and I think doing it to an even further extreme, like we saw last night. I think they're one of the highest pressing teams in the league right now in terms of all the stats that go around that. So it didn't shock me what we saw last night, but I think it was a good toe-to-toe battle of very similar philosophies. And I still think, is a draw, fair? Honestly, I kind of think so. I don't think we did enough last night to win this game, but I think DC was very lucky to come away with a draw. I don't think we were hard done to not come away with 3 points.
I don't know, Jake. I'm looking at these stats, and I mean, we're leading in pretty much every category. The one thing I'm going to say as we're talking about the refs as well, 36 fouls in a single game. That's 31 every 3 minutes. How are we supposed to get any kind of fluidity of this game and trying to play through that?
Yep.
And a bunch of the boys are commenting here as well. Is like, what are we thinking about a Yarrow as a center back option? Do we have another option? Yeah, Mr. Kyle Hebert. I don't know what's going on there. I would love to see Kyle back on the field, especially to give him a shot to play next to Nilsson, especially while Tim Parker's out. But the one thing I want to say as well, Jake, is a good little cameo last night from Thorson. We've been talking about him, been waiting for him to do a little bit more. He almost slotted home the game winner. What was it, 90th +5, where he forced the keeper to make a kick save there. Him, and it's also good to see Blum come in. Got in. Both of them came in on the 80th minute. That means Blum's a little bit closer to getting healthy. I think that we are best suited when we have at least Blum or Leuven on the field. And now we have Durkin. And I know it's going to be a rotation there, but if we could have Durkin next to Blum, a lot of these chances that would be completely nullified as teams try to play through us in the middle. I think this game, it wouldn't have been as much as they're trying to play over the top and get Benteke in, but it was good to see that Blum was actually a lot closer to getting healthy than what we thought. Because I think originally what we saw in FOTMOB was like, he's not ready till like mid-April. And I know that's just more of probably a conservative look, but it's good to see him back out there. And new dreads.
Yeah.
You said it. You're right. I don't even know if Blum had that much hair. I agree. I don't know where he got it. I don't know if he got plugs or what.
Team hair is on fleek this year. Absolutely. So kudos to the boys. Let's do quick ratings, Justin. Let's just go by position on the field. I think Berkey last night, again, 1 save. And he made one of those great saves. I'm on probably a high B+. I mean, you just can't. I don't fault him for either of those goals. They were empty netters. He couldn't do anything about those. So that's a hard one. Defensively, the laps on Yarrow and I think Dewey are mostly responsible, in my opinion, for both goals, but not overly so where it was just like an individual mistake. I do think they have to do better there. But again, those are just team breakdowns that aren't just folding the back line. I'm probably giving the back line, though, still probably maybe a high C, low B last night. It's got to be cleaner. You've got to lead the line. You've got to be stronger against a big striker in Benteke, and last night just didn't cut it.
No, I agree. And I would say, I think Dewey, we already talked about his hips getting turned. Tutland, I thought did fine. There was not enough highlights or lowlights. There was the highlight that we have in the 34th where he did the dirty give and go that ended up out for a corner, which fine. Or I think it was an offsides actually. But I would say I'd give him probably just a B, a flat B, just because I don't think he did enough. But and same with Nilsson. But then Yarrow and Dewey, I'd probably give him like a C plus because I just think there was not enough communication with those guys. And I think that maybe it's a little bit of lack of chemistry, as this is a new back four, especially with Dewey. But I think individually, all these guys are doing just fine. And maybe Yarrow maybe a little bit off there. But I think that we need to bring it all together in one full masterpiece of a game plan. And I just didn't see it last night from the back line.
Didn't see it from the midfield either. I think midfield for me probably gets a C overall. Obviously some different performances there. I think Durkin put in a quiet shift last night, but quiet in a good way. I think he worked his tail off back there. We already talked about Ostrak. I think he was fine. Indy for me didn't really find the game besides his beautiful assist on the corner. Didn't really have any moments of him last night. AZ, again, few and far between. It's not good enough right now, in my opinion, from what we're seeing from AZ. And neither of us, I know you said you might want to put him in your 11. I didn't have him in my 11. And I think I could have done with some Celio last night on the left wing versus AZ. So curious to see how that situation unfolds. I think up top, Sam Adeniran did not have his best night. A little bit wasteful on his couple opportunities, in my opinion. Klaus, I think, had his best game this season. Goal aside, even great to see him get his goal. I think that was the best played game that he's had this season.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I think before we get into the heart and soul of the game, I'm going to mention one more thing on AZ. I was talking to the guy next to me at the game. We need to figure out where AZ is playing. I still think he's better as a spark plug than a full 90 guy, at least for right now. And I would like to see that trying out. But unfortunately, we have him. He's been slotting to get the ball with his back to the goal, and that's not where AZ thrives. If he does, it's at the top of the 18. But in the midfield, he is getting absolutely pummeled. And I don't think he's getting a lot of the calls, which is kind of upsetting in my sense as well. But he's getting forearms to the back. But with his stature, he can't hold the ball up like that. So he can't be getting the ball with his back to the goal. We need to get him turned around and going forward. And I just don't know where that's going to be. It's almost like he needs to come get the ball a little bit lower and then attack guys dribbling. But you can't give it to him like he's Klaus or Sam and expect him to hold it up and get a turn out of that. But I will say, Jake, as we're getting into it, the heart and soul juice, go to souljuice.com. 20% off using code BALLWATCH. You can get it at Schnucks, Dierberg, Straub's, Costco. Just opened up in Costco in LA. Big things are coming to St. Louis with Luis. Could not be more proud of him. My heart and soul juice player of the game is Mr. Joao Klaus. And I will say that specifically, without taking any of the stats that you already have listed, he had 1.07 XG. Yes, 0.79 of that came from a PK. But I would say not only from him creating another, 0.3 XG, he also had 4 passes in the final third, which is not something that we typically see out of Klaus. Usually when he gets in there, he's trying to take it and rip a shot himself. He also had 7 defensive actions, and showing that he is working both ways on the ball. And he also drew 4 fouls. That's one thing that we haven't really mentioned in general about this game. We had a lot of the set pieces that we've been complaining about in the first couple games that we've been giving up outside, say 20 yards outside of the box. I'd say we probably had 4 or 5 of those last night, and a couple of those are directly related to Klaus. So he is my heart and soul juice player of the game.
Love it. He's mine as well, Justin. Joao Klaus had his best match so far of 2024 last night, getting his goal, getting off the mark, which was so important for him. 6 shots, 2 chances created for others as well. So you're seeing his creative abilities come in there, which is great. He had the most touches of any player on the field last night in the 18. So he's popping up in dangerous areas. I feel like he just kind of knew where the ball was going to be last night, which is really important. And it's a striker's instinct to have that. And up in the air, he had 4 of 5 aerial duels won. So he was really physical last night as well. I think you mentioned something really important. His off the ball work has improved and his work rate has improved off the ball. And I think he's making more of an impact and making himself more valuable to the team. When the goals aren't coming, I think he's still an important asset for us out there. So definitely agree on Joao Klaus. So he is the heart and soul of the team last night. And Justin, before we get into predictions and Graham review, I do want to shout out our 2024 presenting sponsor, Hoffman Brothers. Hoffman Brothers, if you all don't know, talking about AC specifically here, obviously you've been serving the community for over 40 years now. They are your air conditioning services solution. They were the recipients of the Air Conditioning Contractors of America Contractor of the Year Award. So if you want to fix your AC, if you want someone to look at your AC, contact the best. And Hoffman Brothers is the best. So make sure you give them a call at 314-664-3011 or visit them online at Hoffman Bros, HOFFMANN Bros.com. bettingpros.com. And Justin, into predictions, Graham review. I predicted 2-1 dub. You predicted 3-1 dub. Neither of us won, obviously, but I got on the goals, Justin. So in the charity challenge, we did lock in 2. So I think we're going to at least be in the joint lead right now for predicting city goals so far this season in each game. But you were in the green in the money last night. So congratulations.
Why do you say it like a surprise, Jake? I'm on a heater right now. What am I? I think I'm 5-2 on the season so far. And I told you guys, it's every home game we're scoring at least 2 goals. And I would say now looking at it, Jake, I updated our massive Excel sheet for sports betting. That has now hit 65% of the time on all of our games over the entire last season and a half, or not half, these 5 games this year and all of last season. 65% of the times we are scoring at least 2 goals at home when we play there. Hit that. It's almost even money when we play. Yeah. I got it last night late at -125. I'm hammering that every time.
Yeah, I did too. I was with you. So I was in the green because I put money on that. I put some money as well on the over on the side, which obviously hit very early. I had not hit on my Sam though. On my Sam anytime goal, he should have had it, man. The goal, the opportunity in the first 10 minutes or so, maybe 11th minute, that he just kind of shanked off his right foot. And there was a couple shots that he just hit wide where you're like, man, that like those were it. And I think on his night, those fall. So unfortunate, but I go down in that one. I want to say actually really quick before we start to wrap up here, Justin, we have almost 100 people listening right now on the live stream. So shout out to you all. And I promised you all we had a giveaway today. So if you're listening right now and you're on the live stream, I need 2 things from you. And you want to be entered into this giveaway, which is a $50 gift card to the pitch. And we're going to leave it open for today. So anyone listening to today right now on YouTube, you have to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment. For all these comments that we're seeing in the live chat, those count as well. Not as multiple entries, but everyone that's commented, you will be entered, I promise. So you have to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below of your favorite City player and why. What do they bring to the team? If you do both those things, you'll be entered into the drawing. We'll announce the winner during our preview on Wednesday of the upcoming RSL match. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ball Watching STL, and make sure you hit a comment below on your favorite City player and why, and you'll be entered to win a $50 gift card to the pitch, which takes you quite a long way.
Oh, it takes you extremely long way. I would say, especially when they're having their happy hours, you can get the frozen Irish coffee for $7. So with tip, that's at least 5 frozen Irish coffees. And I would say you can get a bucket of beer. You can go get there and get a sandwich. And honestly, Jake, I'm going to be there again today. I could use this $50 gift card. I need to figure out how I get myself one of these. Maybe I need to go subscribe and make a comment real quick because I'm going to be down there 3 to 4:30 p.m. You got Mr. Tim Parker, Nerwinski. I'm not lying, dude. The rest of the team's going to be there. We don't have insider knowledge, I would say, but a lot of the boys are showing up to help their boys out. So get to the pitch today. And if you want to win $50, comment, subscribe, do all these things. And while you're at it, leave us a rating. We have a couple people that are consistently in our DMs for Instagram and Twitter. I want everyone to be there consistently. Let us know what we can work on. This is literally something that we do for fun, but also for all of you guys. So please reach out to us. If you have good or bad things you want us to say, want us to touch on, please let us know.
Absolutely. The questions have been phenomenal today for you all. So thank you so much for putting these in. We tried to work in a lot of them organically as much as we could, but both Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, appreciate you all listening. And if you're on podcast, definitely leave us a rating and review like Justin mentioned, or shoot us a DM. Follow us on social media at Ball Watching STL. All the handles are here on YouTube. You can see them visually. So if you want to interact with us, definitely do so. We are as responsive as you possibly can be. So looking forward to getting over this match, Justin. It's been obviously a rough Saturday night, but now it's a new day, a new week. We're heading to RSL on the weekend to finish out our season series with them. We tied them at home at the home opener. I think we'll be looking to collect at least a point here at home, but I do not want another draw, man. I do not want to draw again, even if it's away. I think we've got to put a foot right here and get a good W on the road. I think that would be a fantastic result to get against RSL, and one that I think really rights our ship, gets us on a good course to continue the rest of the season here.
I really appreciate that we've gone another 5 games being undefeated, but we are teeter-tottering right now on a points perspective of only, what do we have, 6 points in 5 games? Yep. Like, we need to get a dub, and I would love to do that on an away game at RSL. I feel like the boys are coming. We're working through adversity with some of these injuries, and I would love to see a quick 4-1 dub and just blow somebody out of the water.
Yeah, we've collected 7 points so far. Obviously, the 1 win versus 3, and now the 4 draws. But that leaves us at 8th in the table right now with some teams
Same, dude.
that have yet to play. So, I mean, you've got to start. Yeah, it's great not to lose, but you've got to start collecting some wins. This is not a problem that we had this time last year. We were sitting very pretty at the top of the table. So for this team, it's important. You got to rack up those W's as well. Getting points is great, but you've got to get some wins going. And I think this weekend is an opportunity to do so. So we'll be back with you all on Wednesday, and hopefully again between now and then, or even right after, maybe with some George Gansner sin bin content. It's been a tasty weekend for some refereeing action. We're hearing that there could be some maybe resolution coming on the front of PSRA getting back into MLS. We shall see, and he will break it down for us. So thank you all for tuning in. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and week, and we'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Take care, City fans, and all for City.
All for City, get to the pitch.